Good day everyone, my name is MARIELIN GABANE. Today we will discuss about the accommodation theory. Now let's explain the objectives of our discussion today. The number one is discuss and determine the application of the theory to language learning and teachings. It means the accommodation theory developed by Howard focuses on how individuals adjust their communication styles to align or differentiate themselves from others during interactions. In the context of language learning and teachings, this theory can be applied in several ways. For the teachers and student interactions, the teachers can adapt their language complexity, tone, and style to match for proficiency levels of their student. For example, using simpler language and clear communication when teaching beginners and gradually increasing complexity as students advance. For the peer learning, the student can engage in peer interaction where they adjust their language used to facilitate the student by incorporating culturally relevant materials and respecting different communication norms. So that is for number one of the objectives of our accommodation theory. Next is number two, explain the definition of the terms upward convergence and downward divergence. So it means upward convergence occurs when an individual adopts language behavior that are considered higher status or more prestigious within a particular social context. This adjustment is often aimed at gaining approval, showing respect, or aligning with perceived authority figures. For example, the student might use more formal language and academic vocabulary when speaking with a teacher compared to their peers to demonstrate respect and competence. For downward invergence involves modifying, so that is so for downward divergence, it involves modifying language behaviors to appear distinct or maintain social stance from individuals on higher status, which can be a way to assess individual assess authority or maintain group identity. For example, teachers might use colloquial language or slang when interacting with a student to appear more relatable and approachable, thereby reducing the perceived social distance between them. So that is for the divergence. So next is differentiate accommodation theory from acculturation theory in terms of second language acquisition. So it means the real of second language acquisition accommodation theory provides a valuable insight into how learners adjust their language use in a social interaction to facilitate learning and integration. The differentiation can be understood through the following aspect: the convergence as a second language is integration. To the learners may adapt the target language's pronunciation, intonations, and syntax to better integrate into the linguistic community. For, so that is for convergence in a second language. In divergence in a second language, the learners might be retain certain features of the first language to preserve their cultural or linguistic identity. So that is for the convergence and the divergence. So the purpose of the adjustment of in a second language acquisition, accommodation, is often a purpose-driven aiming to enhance communication efficacy and language proficiency. So next is number 4, explain the role of motivation in a second language according to the theory. It means the role of motivation in second language acquisition according to the accommodation theory is influencing the extent of manner in of learner engagement engage in language accommodation. According to accommodation theory, motivation affects a second language in the following ways. So, in the first one, interest. Learners with a genuine interest in the target language and cultures are more likely to achieve converts where the language used seeking deeper integration and proficiency. Enjoyment of learning. The enjoyment derived from interacting in the target language can enhance resistant effort to the accommodation language behavior. So that is for the role of accommodation in the second language according to the theory. So the accommodation theory possessed that motivation is intertwined with the willingness and ability of learners to adjust their language use. Motivated learners are more adept to converging their language behaviors to align with the target language community, thereby enhancing their language acquisition process. Conversely, those motivated by different factors may choose divergent strategies that also contribute to their unique language learning trajectories. So, that is for the role of motivation in a second language to the theory. So the introduction of the accommodation theory, according to sociologist Howard Giles in early 1970s, is a communication theory explore how people adjust their speech patterns, language, and communication styles depending on their social interaction. This theory primarily focuses on how individuals either adapt or maintain their linguistic behavior to facilitate understanding, build social bond, and emphasizing differences in identity. So, so as what I said earlier, the accommodation theory formulated by sociologist Howard Giles, he explained how individuals modify their language and communication styles in social interaction to achieve various social goals. Number one is to the convergence. There are two main strategies in the theory, convergence and divergence. So when we say convergence, so here are definition of convergence. Refers to the process where individuals adopt their speech tone or behavior to become more similar to their conversation partner. The goal is to reduce social distance, enhance understanding, and foster connection or approval. So that is for convergence. In divergence involves deliberately maintaining or accentuating differences in communication styles to distinguish oneself from the conversation partner. It emphasizes individuality or group identity, often used to assert dominance or resist conformity. So that is for convergence and divergence. The purpose of the convergence is to build rapport and create social harmony, to be liked or accepted by others, and to facilitate mutual understanding in communication, and also to reduce tension and social distance in interactions. By divergence is to maintain distinctiveness or emphasizes social cultural identity, issue disagreement, independence or resistance, to assert authority or higher status, and also to preserve linguistic or cultural integrity in intercultural communications. So that is the purpose of convergence and divergence. For example of the convergence, a non-native speaker adjusts their accent or speak style to match the native speaker in a group. So, in divergence is a regional dialect speaker intentionally uses more pronounced dialect features when speaking with outsider to assert regional identity. So that is for the convergence and divergence, the example and the meaning. So the impact of communication, the convergence, is can enhance our communication to understanding and social bonds, may sometimes lead to a loss of personal identity and overuse. By divergence, it can reinforce group identity and personal distinctiveness, might cause social distance, misunderstanding, or conflict if overused. So, that is for the convergence, and divergence is about aligning one's communication to reduce differences. It's all about maintaining or emphasizing those differences assert identity or dependence, both in strategic serve, distance, or distinct social purposes depending on the goals of their interactions. So that is for the introduction of our accommodation theory. So next is the description of the theory. The accommodation theory shares certain premises that the culturalism model, but it also differs from it a number of significant ways. So description theory, according to the Howard Gulls, is also it is for the convergence and divergence model they can use. Also, Kuskoman Girls is concerned with a successful language acquisition. And also, whereas Skoman explained this relationship in terms of variables that create actual social distance are static or they change very slowly over the course of time. And next is Giles treats such variables as dynamic and fluid in accordance with shifting views of identity of its growth vis-a-vis of verse vis-a-vis the others. So that is the description of the theory. Next is go to the key variables. Number one, the key variables is identification of individual learner with this ethnic group, the extent to which the learner uses himself as belonging to specific in a group separate from the out group. So it is for the refers in extents in the individual identifies with the specific social group. For example, cultural, ethnic, or linguistic. A strong identification with the in-group influences and the personal language choices often leading to divergence, maintain or distinctiveness or convergence to align with group norms. So that is for number one of key variables. Number two, ethnic comparison. Whether the learner makes favorable or unfavorable comparison between his own in-group and out-group. So, it involves how individuals compare their own ethnic group to others, often influencing their language behavior. If a person's ethnic group is seen as lower status composed to other, they may be convinced to dominant language. Conversely, if they want to assert the unique wins of superiority, their growth, they may be diverse. So next is for the order relevance to the accommodation theory is the comparison shift whether individuals will align with the language or the dominant group for the convergence and the divergence. Next is perception of ethno-linguistic vitality, whether the learner sees his in-group as holding a low or high status and as sharing or excluded by institutional power. So, ethno-linguistic vitality, it is vitality refers to the perceived strength and sustainability of a group language within or particular society. It involves factors like size of a group, institutional support with the language and the group, economic and social standing. High vitality can encourage speakers to maintain their language while low vitality may lead to language shift.